Hello everyone. Hope we're having a fantastic day. Today we're building off of our learning from yesterday on heredity, and today we're spending more time on inherited versus acquired traits. You are a unique individual, and you are made up of thousands of different characteristics. These characteristics are the same thing as traits. They can be eye color, your skills in basketball, your height, your video game skills, your ability to cook, to make people laugh. Skin color is a trait. Eye color is a trait, we said. Growing hair on your arm is a trait. All the things that make up who you are traits. And you can see in this slide here, you have 6 unique people. They each have different hair colors, hairstyles, eye colors, eye shapes, eyebrows, different nose shapes, different chin shapes. All of these different characteristics that make up who you are traits. Some traits are physical, and these physical traits describe how something looks or their structure. And so you have, for example, fur color, eye shape, the number of legs, the placement of your eyes, brain structure, shape of kidneys. All these dogs kind of have similar, they would probably all have the same number of legs. Most dogs have 4 unless they're involved in some sort of accident. Most of their eye placements are the same. They're kind of right behind the nose on either side of the head. But even you can see from dog to dog, their eyes aren't exactly in the same spots. Their shape of the kidneys are probably very similar since they're all the same species. But like a dog's kidney is probably different than a human's kidney. That's just kind of how it would be since we're different species that way. And you can see differences in fur color and ear shape as well. Traits can be behavioral. These traits describe how something acts or something that was learned. Dogs a lot of times learn how to fetch things. Bears were learned or kind of taught how to hibernate from their parents and so on. Birds migrate south for the winter in the northern hemisphere and then fly back up when it's too cold in the southern hemisphere. Language is something that you learn. I learn how to speak English. I've learned how to speak Spanish. And so speaking language is a learned behavior. Now, these traits can be inherited or acquired. And so we're going to go into more detail. What is the difference between the two? Inherited traits are coded in your DNA, those genes that we referenced yesterday, genes. You receive them from your biological parents, so your biological mom and dad, your mother's egg and your father's sperm DNA combined to make you who you are. Sometimes it's also called instinct, but these inherited traits can be your eye color, your hair color, your natural hair color, how tall you get, your blood type, birds flying south for the winter. All those are different types of inherited traits. And because inherited traits are in your genes, they can be passed on to your children or to the next generation. Summarize what inherited traits are in your own words. Acquired traits are developed during your life. You're not born with them. They aren't in your DNA. But they're things that you learn how to do or things that happen to you. So you might learn how to ride a bike. You might learn how to play a card game. You might learn how to read or to write. And they can be things that happen to you. You might break a bone from falling out of a tree. You might get haircuts, and so you have shorter hair. You might, you might learn or you might find that swimming is something that happened to you. You kind of get forced to swim. Acquired traits are learned. Okay, so things that you acquired are the things that you learned how to do. They mean the same thing. Take some time and summarize what acquired traits are now. What's cool about acquired traits is that they aren't really passed on to the next generation. They stop with you. And so they acquired traits that your parents have don't get passed on to you. So like if your mother or father has a tattoo, well, you aren't born with the tattoo. The tattoo is their acquired trait. They keep it. You don't get it. You might get your own, but that's an acquired trait for you. They didn't pass it on. These acquired traits aren't in the genes, so they can't get passed on to the children. And so this dog is missing one of its legs. It has 3 legs. But just because this dog is missing one of its legs, that doesn't mean his puppies or their puppies would also miss a leg. Take some time. Would your traits pass on to your children? Yes, no, and explain why. Physical traits can both be inherited or acquired. Like eye color, you can inherit, but scars and bumps and bruises, those are acquired. Behavioral traits can both be inherited or acquired. Fish swimming, inherited. Playing the piano, acquired. You might have natural talent for playing the piano or playing basketball or like being really athletic, but you still have to learn how to play the game. You still have to learn how to play the instrument. You still have to learn how to do it. Some traits are both. Skin color, for example, you inherit genes for your skin color from your parents. It can be acquired because sometimes if you are out in the sun a lot, your skin becomes darker. And what's also pretty cool is that over the course of human evolution, people who have darker skin, their ancestors lived closer to the equator. Their skin is darker because, since they live closer to the equator, they are exposed to higher rates of sunlight through the year. And so over time, their skin color became darker to protect themselves from the UV radiation. Some people have lighter skin because they didn't live as close to the equator, so they didn't get as much intense sunlight all year long, and so their skin color is naturally lighter to allow more sunlight in to get the vitamins and minerals during those times of year when you needed more sunlight, or they needed more sunlight, since they're millions of years ago and that old. So, inherited traits or acquired traits. A person is speaking 2 languages is an acquired trait. We know because language is something that you learned how to do. All right? We weren't just born speaking English or born speaking Spanish or born speaking Cantonese or born speaking French. You learned how to speak those languages. You weren't born with it. So those traits are acquired. How about these next 2? Josiah has calluses of skin on his foot from playing soccer. Is that an inherited trait or an acquired trait? Having calluses. Rest in peace, Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman has black curly hair. Is having black curly hair inherited or acquired? Now we're going to go into more depth here. Nicki Minaj's hair color. For instance, right here, it's blue and pink. How can her hair color be inherited? How can it be acquired? Take time to explain how the trait can be both inherited and acquired.